rub-a-dub subs, it's Blackmetalwerewolf making a brand new video for you this week. And today I want to talk about pushers. Now when I say pusher, I mean someone that is always trying to push you into doing something or liking something that you clearly aren't interested in. For example, I work with a shit ton of people who are always trying to push me into seeing the new Marvel movies. Even though I clearly had zero interest in seeing them, and I've said very many times I don't want to see them, I don't want to pay to see them. If I'm going to watch them, it's probably going to be for free on Netflix. And I always just tell them to drop it because them telling me to do it isn't making me want to see it anymore. And it's getting to the point where I avoid talking to these people just so I don't have to constantly hear about the fucking things. So those kind of pushers are really bad, and I'm sure you people know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you have someone in your life who annoys you with shit that you clearly aren't interested in. But I'm sure there are plenty of metalheads who push their music views on other people. So that's what I want to talk about today. Metal pushers and why it's not good to be one. So what I first want to talk about is the difference between just talking about what you're interested in and pushing it on someone. As humans, we all have different interests. We all like different things. And whenever you're really into something, you usually learn a lot about it and you like talking about it. That's a pretty human thing to do. If you're into horror movies, whenever you have a conversation with someone, chances are you're probably going to bring up horror movies because you know a lot about it, you want to talk about it, it's your thing, you really like it. Same can go for jazz music, art, anime, whatever you're into, you want to talk about it. That's a pretty human thing to be. But it's all about knowing when you want to talk about it and organically move it into a conversation, or when you just flat out shove your interest in other people's face and then not realizing that they are clearly not interested in what you're saying or what you're pushing on them. Like I was saying before earlier, I know there are so many people who at my work who are always trying to talk about the Marvel movies to me, and I can just flat out say to their face, I don't like those movies, please stop talking to me about it, and they will keep going. It's like, I get that you're interested in it, and I think that's cool that you have a thing, but I don't fucking care. But they just keep going. It just gets so irritating that you want to avoid people like that. Another thing is about knowing who you're talking to. For example, if you're talking to another metalhead, you can clearly talk about metal as much as you want, and chances are they are going to be very interested in the conversation. For example, almost in all of my videos, I do an album recommendation or an album warning, mostly recommendations though. I don't consider that pushing because the majority of the people watching this are metalheads, I can only assume, because it's a metal channel. So they don't see anything wrong with me showing them music that they might be interested in. That makes sense to me. If I was doing a country music fucking channel and every video I was talking about metal, I can't imagine I'd have a lot of country music listeners because I'd be talking about things they aren't interested in and they don't want to hear about something that they clearly are not interested in. So obviously there's a very big difference between just talking about what you're interested in and trying to push whatever you're into onto someone else and then not being able to realize that they aren't fucking into it. So when it comes down to it, one of the main reasons why I think it's really bad to be a metal pusher is because of how obnoxious you come off and how it can make people perceive all metalheads that way. For example, I remember several years ago, right now, it'd probably be 6 or 7 years ago, I lived in another town and I was hanging out with a guy I knew who also really liked metal. And we were cruising around in his car and we saw some really hot chicks on the side of the road and we thought, hey, why not flirt with them? We might get lucky. Anyway, we were flirting with them. The girls, offered to, go cruising around town. They agreed. They got into our car, and the girl suggested, "Hey, let's turn on some music." So my buddy flips on the radio, and I think it was like Taylor Swift or something. I can't even fucking remember at this point. It doesn't matter. But it was one of those things that the girls were really into, and then my buddy got super hyper aggressive about it. Like, "Oh, this is mass-produced shit. This is garbage. I can't believe you like this shit." It's true what he was saying about it, but when you're trying to get laid, maybe not be an aggressive, obnoxious asshole to chicks. Has that ever worked for any guy ever? I doubt it, Anyway, then he put on some Bathory, put on his Bathory CD, cranked it. The girls clearly weren't into it, and they asked to get pulled over, and they got out of the car, never saw him again. And I guarantee you, those girls went around and started telling all their friends or whoever that they met two gigantic assholes. And, they're metalheads, they're dickheads, and they're all these things. So, that kind of probably ruined their perception of metalheads. And then they spread the word about how these two metalheads they met were total assholes. Not a really good look on all metalheads, especially when we're not all like that. But the really disturbing thing about that story is when I was in the car with him and I saw him doing this, I unfortunately saw myself too, because when I was younger, I was that exact same way. Every time I'd talk to someone, I'd bring up metal and they clearly weren't interested. They'd say they're not into it. And then I'd just keep pushing and pushing and pushing them at it until it got to the point where they'd tell me to fuck off or just avoid me. So, you know, sometimes you have no friends, maybe because you're bringing it on yourself, right? So, yeah, it can, when you're that obnoxious and that aggressive about it, you're not doing yourself or metal any favors. You're not going to convince this person to listen to metal by being obnoxious to them. It's not going to help you make any friends or get laid or whatever you want to do with these people, and it's not going to help anyone join the metal community. I've also noticed that there's a bit of metal pushing within metal itself. My personal experience with it is there's this guy in town that I run into every now and then. He's a relatively nice guy. I met him a couple of years back. I was wearing an Immortal t-shirt. I was walking down the street, he pointed it out. You know, we're talking about it. He's into metal. We're talking about bands we like. Pretty good conversation. And he brings up that he really likes baby metal. And at the time I had heard about baby metal, but I never really listened to them, and he suggested that I do. So later, probably like a week later, I finally sat down and listened to them, and you know, it really wasn't my thing. I didn't get it, I don't see the appeal to it, but you know, it's cool that he likes it, it's just something that I am clearly not into. Anyway, next time I ran into him, he says, "Hey, have you checked out baby metal?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I checked it out. You know, not really my thing. I don't get it." Like, "Oh, that's fair enough." But the next time after that, I ran into him. "Oh man, you gotta listen to some more baby metal." Like, you know, I'm not into it. Thank you, but you know, no thanks. And then the next time, well, "Hey man, listen to baby metal." And then the next time, "Hey man, you gotta listen to baby metal." And he wouldn't stop pushing baby metal onto me until I did have to say, "Look dude, you gotta stop fucking saying this to me." And it's getting to the point where every time I see him, I'm just gonna try to avoid eye contact because I don't want to hear about fucking baby metal. I don't like them. I've told you several times, I'm not into it. So maybe it's just me noticing this, but I'm sure some of you have had someone in your life or maybe online or whatever try really hard to push a band onto you and you're just not into it. But now, like before, you know, I wasn't into baby metal, not really a big fan of it, but now this guy keeps pushing it onto me. I really, really hate baby metal now. And I know it's not the band's fault, I know it's that dude's fault 100%, but I can't separate my annoying feelings towards that band from this annoying person. Unfortunately, that's just the way it goes. But now you can kind of see what I mean. If, you know, I'm associating my annoyance with this person to the thing he's trying to get me to like. Just like I'm now associating my annoyance with people talking about the Marvel movies towards the Marvel movies. I'm sure they're fine movies, but the way people are constantly pushing it onto me is making me not want to watch any of them ever. Just like if you were to constantly do that to someone who you want to get into metal, they might just not be fucking into it, but if you keep pushing it to them, they're going to associate that annoyance and that uncomfortability with metal. Not just with you, with metal. And then there's a possibility that person may not even talk to you anymore because they're tired of fucking listening to you. And you know what's funny, talking about like bad association with like metal and stuff, I was actually talking to one of the guys I work with, and for some reason he's just fascinated about me being a metalhead, even though no, I obviously don't dress like this when I go to work, but I have the long hair, I talk about metal every now and then, and he's just fascinated about it. And he was telling me that he was talking to his sister and like, "Oh yeah, I work with this one guy who's a metalhead." And then his sister said to him, "Oh, is he a fat slob?" And he's like, "Actually no, he's quite very lean, not very muscular, pretty skinny guy, and he's tall." And she's like, "Oh, well, because when I was in high school, there was this one metalhead and he was this fat, obnoxious slob." And this guy was a dickhead to her, and then she made a poor association that all metalheads were like this one asshole, and then she said that to her brother, and then that came back to me. So as you can see, one bad association can kind of ruin it for the rest of us, and have someone think that we're all fat, obnoxious slobs that are dickheads. So obviously that's not gonna be the case for everyone, but as you can see, one bad association can ruin it for everybody. So I guess the best advice when it comes to this subject I can give anyone is just be aware of what's happening in a conversation. Watch people's body language. When you are talking about something and people are just giving you like, uh-huh, mm-hmm, yeah, oh wow, yeah, and they're giving you those kinds of responses, take the fucking hint. Like, whenever I have a conversation with someone, I can clearly tell when they are not interested in talking with me, and I'll just back off. Maybe not everyone can pick up on those kind of social cues, I'm surprised I can because, you know, I'm an idiot, but hey, I can pick up on that. So if a moron like me can pick up on social cues, I'm sure plenty of you guys can. But so like, just feel out the conversation and realize when people aren't interested in what you're saying, and either end the conversation or just change the subject. You don't want to make yourself look like an asshole and then by association have everyone else think that what you like is just as bad as you are. I know it's a really mean thing to say, and I'm not trying to make it sound like stop being a dickhead to everyone. Just recognize who you're talking to and see where the conversation's going. You wouldn't want someone doing it to you, so why would they want you doing it to them? But now I want to get your guys' opinion on all of this. Have you been a metal pusher, or have you had someone push their shit onto you and you clearly aren't interested? I'd love to know what you guys think of this whole thing, so please leave me a comment letting me know what you think. So now, like all my other videos, I either do an album recommendation or an album warning, and today is another recommendation, so get ready, I'm about to push some metal on ya. And the band is Dragonlord, the album is Dominion. I was at the record store the other day and I saw this on the shelf and I thought it looked pretty damn cool. I brought it home, listened to it, and I thought it was pretty damn good. So if you've never listened to them before, I highly suggest you check it out. Dragonlord, the album is Dominion. So that's it for today's video. If you like what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe, leave me a comment letting me know what you thought of today's video, check out some of my past videos, and share them with a few of your friends while you're at it. If you want to keep up with me on a more daily basis, you can follow me on Facebook and on Instagram. I also have a P.O. box open. All of that info is down in the description. I also have a handful of patches left for sale, so if you'd like to get your very own, you can click right over here. There's also a link down in the description. Overall, thank you very much for watching, guys, and don't forget to stay brutal.